in this incarnation. I am here today to talk about two events that are very, very connected. One of them is the Venus star point that we are going to have on June 4th, and the other one is the new moon in Gemini on June 6th. So let's start with the Venus star point. This is the union of the Sun and Venus, the planet of desires of the soul, relationships, resources. The Sun is the illumination, the things that we bring to consciousness, and also identity. So we get in contact with desires of the soul with every union, because as much as we evolve, also it does our desire. I've talked a lot about this, and how desires of the soul are the impulse to evolve, actually. So every contact they have, we get it. We bring to the consciousness this desire, and also we get rid of aspects of the identity or the ego that don't match, the desire of the soul, or the things that we have to work on in order to manifest that too. So it is called a star point because it is given in 5 signs, which is Aries, which are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Scorpio, and Capricorn. So this is like forming a start of 5 points. That's why it is called Venus star point. But also, these points are going to move actually, but they have a very, very slow move. So the last years, the conjunctions were given in these signs, and there is a concept that is very new. I'm going to talk about a little bit of that is linked with the Venus, the natal Venus star point, which is the previous conjunction of the moment that we were born. So you can look for that on the internet. There are the dates. You can identify the moment you were born, and identifying the previous star point to the date that you were born. That is the one that corresponds to you. And what happens is that these conjunctions happen when Venus is direct or when Venus is retrograde. And they have different qualities. I mean, people that have a natal Venus star point with a direct Venus, they have their Venus more receptive to receive, and people that have their Venus star point retrograde, they have to develop more efforts, let's say, to feel they deserve. They have to do this development, but it has its pros and cons, because a direct Venus could be too much passive many times, and is waiting to receive everything. And Venus retrograde could be Venus that have developed skills along the way, along the process, because of this feeling of not feeling deservers. Sorry, I am a little weird today with my English. This is my weird English day. So I wanted to comment a little bit about that. It is also important that depending on the age you could have the natal Venus star point in other signs as Cancer, Aquarius, or Virgo. But let's continue with that. We have to understand that as much as we have a new moon, and as much as we have a full moon, new moons open a cycle of 6 months, and full moons close a cycle of 6 months. So when we have a Venus retrograde, a conjunction with Venus retrograde between the Sun and Venus, we have an opening of a cycle. And when we have a Venus direct, which is the case of this June 4th, we have a closure. So we could see manifestations, or we could be more clear about what we really want and the things that we have to do in order to create those experiences that we want to manifest. So this conjunction is very connected with the one that we have in 2020, in June of 2020. it is closing like this cycle. The cycles of the Venus star points are from 8 years, and it has a middle cycle of 4 years. So people that could have Venus star point in Gemini, well, they could have these abilities to connect people with each other, or to inform, to communicate, or maybe many different abilities that they have to integrate. This could be things associated with the Venus star point in Gemini, which is different from the natal Venus. Our natal Venus is the way, the things that we feel attracted to, our language when we are in a relationship. It is about the things that cause us pleasure. So it is very connected with practices that we can, do in order to connect with self-love. The Venus star point is more like the way we receive. It is more linked with that. Let's talk about the new moon that is going to be on June 6th. It is going to be given, Moon and Sun are going to be united in the degree 16th of Gemini, in a conjunction almost exact with Venus, that is going to be also in the degree 16th. And they are going to create this tension with Saturn in Pisces. Saturn in Pisces is in the degree 18th. So the square that is created is very, very close. We are going to feel it days before, like 1 week before. So this new moon is very linked. It's a cycle that is opening and is very linked with desires. And because of this tension with Saturn, it is linked with a desire that we have to assume responsibility. We have to put a lot of patience and perseverance, and, and build this in the matter, respecting the processes of the matter. So, it is important to talk about. I've been talking about the energy of Gemini all of these days, but this is very associated with communication, with new ways of information, new skills that we can learn. Gemini is the eternal apprentice. And also it is very linked with our dualities, the dualities that we have to embrace in order to approach this new cycle. But what happens is that we are going to have a lot of planets there, because the regent of this new moon, which is Mercury, is going to be in Gemini too by that moment, very close of Jupiter. They are not in an exact conjunction to the lunation, but they are participating. They are there in that sign. So we are going to have a lot of planets there, the luminars also. So these tensions with Saturn, Saturn is the planet that comes to us to say, well, you have to put boundaries, you have to assume responsibilities, you have to, develop things in time, you have to persevere. But Saturn in Pisces, more than any other Saturn, is the one that is telling us that we have to be responsible with our own soul. This is not about assuming responsibilities that were imposed by society or by other people, our family, friends, etc. This is about something that we feel inside that we have to do. And what happens with this energy, with this tension with planets in Gemini, is that we could have a lot of ideas, a very overcharged mind. And, one of these ways that the ego, many times, that the conditioned mind has in order to protect us, to give new steps to the unknown, is like, I don't know. I have many ideas and I don't know. So I'm not taking any decision. I am in this confusion, like evaluating many ideas and, this lack of discernment. And Saturn is going to ask for us, like, no, you have to take a decision. You have to assume a decision here. You have to assume a path. And, it is very important to say that also other polarity with Saturn, it is very linked with self-exigency, being very harsh with ourselves, putting such an exigency that is preventing us from giving a new step. So that is one of the polarities of Saturn. And also there is the other one that is more linked with the victim role, because tensions with Saturn could manifest limitations, obstacles, but this is not a karma that is punishing us. Karma doesn't work that way. Those are perceptions very linked with humans, actually. Nothing happens in terms of reward or punishment, actually. All is a manifestation of our own energy and our unconscious patterns many times. So assuming responsibility is not about punishing ourselves for the things that are happening, but learning to respond in different ways if we don't like those manifestations. So the the limitations or the obstacles that could be given through people or through situations are actually showing us where we have to redirect our energy, where we really we should take a decision, because for many people this could be linked with relationships, and it is very important to ask ourselves, am I learning with these people? Am I growing? Am I learning new things? This is nurturing me. This relationship is nurturing me. Asking questions in order to understand what do we want and how relationships are working. And also this is linked with the way we are generating resources, all the things that are linked with Venus that I always mention. So other thing that is important is that overthinking or consuming a lot of information, or staying with a lot of people in order to escape from ourselves is something that is not going to work, because again, Saturn is here. Saturn is participating of this and is asking us for assuming the responsibility for our own desire. Many times transits with Saturn could be frustrating too. I won't deny it, but well, they are teaching us the maturity that we should develop, and also how we need to process our emotions, because we have so much planets there that our mind is overcharged, but it could be like rationalizing everything and very disconnected from our emotions. And Saturn in Pisces is asking us also to to be in touch with that, in order to not let them assume the decisions, but to process that with responsibility too, because that is also a spiritual maturity, to be in touch with our emotions and just to release them as we need to. So other thing that I wanted to mention, that I commented, I gave this example in the other videos that I did in the other channels. I wanted to put this example because I think it could explain this more. This dynamic, I've seen it in many couples, in many relationships, and it is something that many times makes people to be more in contact with their own desires. Many times one of the parts of our relationship assume this role of being the one that assumes the decisions, and the other one is like the one that is guided. This is like more a role linked with being the dad or the mom, and the other is the child, and even these roles can be like exchanged. But what happens is that those projections are actually coming from emotional needs that are not integrated, which in astrology are linked with the moon, not with Venus. Venus is more this attraction. So when those dynamics are projected and people are not conscious about that, then the attraction starts to turn off totally. There's no Venus because the projections are linked with the moon. The emotional needs that weren't integrated. So although for many people that could be comfortable, because one can control is more linked with Pluto, but one is the one that assumes the decisions, and the other one is like, I don't have to do any effort. I'm just like the child. So through those kind of experiences, many people realize the kind of relationship that they want. And even when we are conscious about those patterns, even when we are awakened to our spiritual nature, it is important to say that we always have to do more labor about this. This is not about, oh, I saw it everything, and so I am healed. This is infinite. This is infinite, and through relationships, we can bring this to consciousness. So I think it is very important to talk about this because, as I said, Gemini is representing our dualities. So it is about the inner contradictions that can appear and that we have to embrace, and also the dualities that can be reflected on other people. Also, other thing that I talked a lot in the channel is the mirror law, because many people understands the mirror law as a direct, if a person steals and I am so angry with that, that means that I am stealing too. It's not like that. Many times it's more subtle and in an indirect way, which means that if I feel a lot of anger because someone stole, maybe I'm not stealing something, but I am letting my energy be stolen, or unconsciously I am, performing that dynamic with other people, which doesn't mean that I have to be that I have to agree with it, the act of stealing, but it is the motion what helps us to detect when there is something that is reflected, because we can be not in agreement and not having any emotion about that. So the mirror law gives us a lot of labor to do, actually, and it is also infinite. So this applies for this energy that we are having these days. And well, I'm going to amplify in the next videos, certainly. I am ending this video here. Thank you, everyone, and see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.